15-minute yoga for tight hips class. So this class is really good if you sit at a desk all day, if you're driving all day, or even if you're a runner and you do sort of very linear movements. So we're going to be getting the hips from all directions. It's going to be amazing. We really want to hear your feedback. So if you like this class, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, give us comments, like it. We really want to hear what you think. Let's get started. So first, we'll begin with our feet a little bit wider than our hips. You're going to turn your heels in and your toes out, coming into a squatting position. So start to bend your knees, and the knees will track over the same direction that the toes are pointed. Hands will come on the inside of the knees sort of for support, and we're going to just gently let your hips sink down low here. So I'm going to use my right hand, kind of push into the right knee and let the right shoulder dip. And as I do this, I'm pushing my hips back behind me so I can feel a stretch in my outer hip. So we'll hang here just for a breath or two. Should feel really good. And then come back to center and just switch sides. Pressing that left knee open, which will help you to feel that stretch in your outer hip. And then at the same time, pushing the hips back behind you. Now, I always like to wiggle a little bit, and if you need to wiggle in any pose, go ahead and do it. You never have to be stagnant. We'll come back to center, and we're just going to straighten the legs, bring your hands down to the ground, and turn the toes in. So from here, I'm going to go over to the right side of my yoga mat, bending into the right knee, keeping my hands inside of the right foot, and then I'll heel toe the right foot over to the edge of the mat. So I'm sort of in a wide lunge. And then from this position, we'll start to draw circles in your right hip socket. So the head of your femur bone, which is a ball, is moving around, rotating around in the hip socket. So you're going to work out any little snap, crackle, pops you have in your hip joint. And I want you to do this in both directions. So you'll go a few rounds one way and then a few rounds the opposite way. And if you have any little tender spots or really tight spaces, you could just move really slow in those areas. So this is helping to work on our range of motion in the hips and just to kind of open everything up in a very gentle way. And then we'll switch sides, so just walk the hands all the way over to the left. Keep the hands inside of the left foot and then heel toe your left foot over to the edge of the yoga mat. From here, we'll draw circles in that left hip. So again, you go maybe 3-4 times in one direction. I'm a little tighter on my left side due to an old hamstring injury, so I kind of go slower on this side. And then when you're ready, you reverse, go opposite direction. And then coming back to center. So from here, I'm going to walk the foot in between my hands and drop the back knee down onto the yoga mat. Now, wherever the back knee lands, you're going to actually slide it a little further back from that position so your hips can get lower down towards the yoga mat. And then you'll walk your hands in a little closer, slowly bring them up to the front knee and thigh. You'll use the hands to kind of push down into the thigh to scoop your belly in and up away from the top of that thigh. So what this does is it helps to get into the hip flexor or the front of the hip. Now this gets super tight if you're sitting in a chair, if you're at a desk, any sort of seated position, because it contracts. Right now we're doing an extension here of the front hip. So just keep the hands on the front thigh, and you can kind of play a little bit. Again, if you need to wiggle or move in any way, you can do that here. And then we're going to add in just a little bit to this position. So I'll take my left hand and grab the hip. We'll use the right hand to reach all the way up and over. So now we're kind of getting into the front of the hip flexor, but at the same time more of a diagonal stretch in that outer hip. You could also use a block under your left hand if that feels more comfortable, or just bringing the left hand down to the ground. And then let's slowly come on back up, switching sides once more. So tuck the back toes under, walk yourself all the way around, bend into the knee, and drop the opposite knee down onto the mat. Again, just sliding the knee back a couple more inches from wherever it lands so that your hips can descend, and then untucking the back toes. Now walk your hands up to the front thigh and gently push down into the thigh to scoop your belly in and up. So notice in this position, I'm not sort of sticking out my belly and my chest. I'm engaging and pulling everything into the midline of my body. And what this does is it helps to get the stretch more in the hip flexor, then sort of a dumping in the lower back. which is what we're going for. So we'll hang out here for a couple breaths. And then I'll take the right hand and slide it down to my right hip. I'm going to reach the left arm all the way up and over, getting that side stretch. Maybe if it's comfortable for you, you could bring your right hand down to the floor or the block. Good, and then we'll come back to center. So now I'm going to do a little outer hip stretch here to get the IT band, and this is especially good if you're a runner. So we'll start by just stepping back into down dog, and then switching legs. I'm going to bring my left foot forward. Now from here, my right hand is planted directly under my right shoulder. I'm going to spin all 10 toes to point to the left side of my yoga mat. So I actually come onto the outer edge of my back foot. And then my front foot, I'm just going to walk it down a couple of inches, and I'm going to push down into the foot to lift the hips up really high. So you should feel this in your outer hip, your IT band here. Now this gets especially tight if you're any sort of a runner, distance or sprinting, it doesn't matter. So we'll just kind of hang out here, reach the top arm up, and enjoy the stretch for a few breaths. And then we're going to switch sides. So you'll plant your hands down. I'm just going to walk all the way over to the other side, bending my right knee, placing my left hand down directly under the left shoulder, and then reaching the right arm all the way up, spinning the toes towards the right side of the mat, coming onto the outer edge of my left foot. So again, really stamping down into your right foot to lift the hips up high so that you feel your outer hip, your IT band, and that connects all the way up to your glute med, which is sort of that little muscle between the big gluteus maximus and the gluteus minimus. So we'll hang out and just breathe a little bit here. And then we'll come back into downward facing dog. So plant your hand down, tuck your toes under, and find your way back. Now in down dog, we're going to move a little. So bend your knees and lift up onto your tiptoes. You're going to draw big circles with your hips. So you go a few times one direction, and then you'll reverse and go the opposite way. Especially after that outer hip stretch, this should feel really good. Good. And then from here, stepping your left foot up to the top of the mat, we'll walk the left foot over towards the edge of the yoga mat here. And then I'm going to flex my foot, coming onto my fingertips. So I'm walking you through a stretch that's called active pigeon instead of regular pigeon pose. And on your inhale, you're just going to slowly lower your shin down towards the yoga mat, keeping the back leg straight and lifted, and not letting the front shin touch. And then as you exhale, you'll just lift the leg right back up. So we're going to do this a couple more times. You inhale, lower. You exhale, lift. Inhale. Exhale. So that's 3. Inhale. Exhale. 4. And last time, inhale. Exhale for 5. Now we're going to lower it down so the shin hovers above the mat. We'll hold here for the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now, we'll slowly set the shin down on the mat, let the back leg come down on the mat. So this is called single pigeon, and this can be a hard stretch if you are really tight in your hips. So a couple of options. You could prop up the leg that's in front, that hip with a block or a blanket or whatever you have at home. Just kind of slide it underneath for support, right? Another option would be, instead of doing single pigeon, to lie on your back and do a reclined pigeon stretch, which I'll walk you through in just a moment. If this feels good in your body, you're just simply going to walk your hands forward, fold over the front shin. If it doesn't feel good in your body, maybe you have a knee injury or maybe you're just exceptionally tight and it's just not possible for you, then you're going to come to lie down on your back. And as you lie down on your back, you'll place your left foot on your right thigh, create a little figure 4 shape with your left leg, flex the foot, and then you'll take your hands and either grab the back of the right thigh or the front of the right shin. And you'll feel that stretch in the same area that you would if you were doing single pigeon. So we're going to be here just for about 30, 45 seconds, maybe a minute. And as you're here, what you can do is focus on your breath. This is really crucial to opening up these really tight hips is using the breath to kind of release any sort of gripping or tension in the body. So as we deepen the breath, as we slow it down, we allow that tension and that gripping to release. So maybe you could try inhaling through your nose and exhaling out from your mouth. Again, inhale through the nose and exhale from the mouth. Just 3 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one, inhale. And exhale. So if you're on your back, you're just simply going to release the pigeon. You'll rock and roll forward up to a seat. If you're in your single pigeon, you're just simply going to bring that right leg forward into a seat. So let's take the feet out in front of us before we do the second side. You're going to have your feet about hips distance, and the knees will be bent. From here, you're just going to grab hold of your shin bones and lean back. We're going to do a little puff of the chest up, big inhale, and then a little rounding of the spine, leaning back on the exhale. We'll do that one more time. Inhale up, and exhale down. Okay, so now we're going to switch to the second side of single pigeon. So I'm just going to have you come back to your downward facing dog. This is sort of the safest way to get into that position. We're going to do our active single pigeon first, and then we'll do our passive stretch, the sort of low to the ground, laying down stretch. So step your right foot forward, and now I'm going to walk the right foot all the way over towards the left side of the yoga mat. I bring my hands in front of the foot, and I'm actually up on my fingertips instead of down flat on my palms. If this is still difficult for you, you could always elevate the hands by using blocks underneath them here, okay? So flex your right foot so the ankle is supported. Keep the back leg really strong. On your inhale, we're going to slowly lower the shin down towards the mat, but don't let it touch. And as we exhale, lift it back up. 3 more. Inhale to lower. Exhale, lift. 2 more, lower. And lift. Last one, lower. And lift. Now we're going to let the shin come down and hold so it's just about 1 inch above the mat for 5 breaths. And as you're holding here, keep that back leg really straight and strong. Good, and then we'll let the shin come all the way down onto the ground for that single pigeon stretch. So again, if you need to prop up your right hip, your right butt cheek with a blanket or a pillow or a block, whatever you have at home, go ahead and do that. And then when you're ready, you can fold over the front leg. Now another thing to note about single pigeon is that you want the weight to be even in both hips. So make sure you're not just leaning over to one side here. You want that even stretch in both sides. Again, if this doesn't work for you, we're going to come all the way down to lie on our backs on the yoga mat. And once you're there, you take the right foot on the left thigh. We'll reach the hands through, grab the back of the left thigh, or maybe the front of the left shin. And again, making sure your right foot is flexed. So this is a really nice stretch for sort of that deep hip area here, that outer side of the hip. So it's less the IT band area and more sort of the deep inner hip in this space. And we'll just be here again for another 30, maybe 45 seconds. So once you arrive in whatever version of the stretch you're in, we'll check in with the breath. Try to slow down the breathing. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling from the mouth. Just do that over and over. And see if you could use the breath to release any sort of tension, any sort of gripping in your body. And then from this position, we'll just slowly let the legs go. If you're on your back, you rock and roll up to a seat. And if you're in your single pigeon, we're going to turn to face the side of the mat. So just bring your legs together, facing the side of the mat. We'll come onto our hands and knees so that your hands are actually off of the yoga mat and your knees are on the mat. So we've done the outer hip. We're going to get into the inner groin space. I want you to walk your knees out as wide as you can here and have your feet directly behind your knees. Your feet will be flexed and your toes are turned out. If you have really sensitive knees and you need some extra cushion, you just Fold the outer edges of your yoga mat in for extra cushioning underneath the knee. And then from here, I'm going to come down onto my elbows, my forearms. So we want the hips and the knees to be in the same line as each other. So making sure your hips are not too far forward or too far backward. And then also, you want to engage your belly here. So drawing your navel in and up so that you're not swaying your lower back. So this is called frog pose, and it gets the inner groin quite well. So be in this position, again, just focusing on the breath, and if you need to wiggle, always you can wiggle a little bit, moving forward and backward. Okay. About 20 more seconds here. So I like this stretch because in yoga we do a lot of outer hip stuff, but we forget to do the inner hips, and this feels really good in my body. I've never been able to do the middle splits, but this is a really nice way to kind of work towards that. Okay, and then to come out of this position, what we're going to do is just kind of push down into your hands, and you're going to tuck your toes under and lift your knees up off the mat. So now I'm going to walk my hands back, just unroll the outer edges of the yoga mat. Bring my feet back onto the mat. We'll take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, we'll fold forward. So last little stretch we're going to do is walking your hands through your legs, reaching towards the back edge of the yoga mat. Now, if you live in a tight body, you're going to walk your feet a lot wider apart from each other. If you're pretty bendy and your head touches the floor, then you'll walk your feet a little bit closer together here. So now we're going to get the very back of the hip into the hamstring, which connects to your lower back. So if you have a really tight lower back, this is a great stretch for you. So the hands are through the legs, or at least reaching in that general direction. I'm going to leave my left hand where it is, take my right arm, reach it forward, and all the way around towards my left foot. Now for some of you, you might just get your right hand over in that general direction. Maybe it doesn't reach the foot. For some of us, we might be able to grab hold. Wherever you are, you're going to take a really big breath in, and on your exhale, start to bend into your right knee. So I'm grabbing my left foot and I'm bending my right knee. And again, you'll feel this in the back of the hip, all the way up that hamstring, the back of the leg, and a little bit on the inner leg as well. And then we'll switch sides. So just bring the right hand back through the legs, reach your left arm forward and all the way around towards the right foot. Maybe it grabs, maybe it doesn't. And then we just bend into the left knee and hold here. And slowly re-extend the left leg, walking the hands forward. Find a flat back, engage your low belly. We'll bring hands to hips, and really slowly we'll come all the way up to standing. And then you can just hop your feet together, and that's it. So this was a quick class, but it's really, really good for the hips. Again, we had you hit the hips from all directions, from the inner to the outer, and even the backs of the legs in that low back space. So hopefully you guys are feeling a little bit more open and spacious, and we'll see you back here next time.